gonna log on before I get started. I can't. So many noises and whistles and bells. I'm. It's what? Good morning, and happy Sunday. It is Charisma with Traveling with Charisma and Cam, where I teach parents just like you how to travel with your kids on a budget and have fun while doing it. Hey there, what it do? How is it going? Good morning. So I'm just gonna let everybody jump on. What are y'all doing this Sunday? Let me know in the comments what's going on. so Alrighty, y'all. So today I want to talk about homeschooling and world schooling. If you are returning, welcome back. I am up to 500 subscribers. Woo woo! I think I get a whole community. I don't know what a community is just yet. However, I'm excited that I get a community. Um, if you are new, make sure you like the channel, you subscribe, and you ring the bell so you get notifications on everything that we're talking about and what's going on. Let's see. Hey, Arlene. Hey. Oh, yes, definitely catch the replay. So, who am I? I am Charisma. And this is Traveling with Charisma Cam. So we travel around the world, single mom and son. My son has special needs and a disability, but we travel around the world doing our own thing. So today, what I want to do is I want to talk about homeschooling and world schooling. So whether you travel like me, or if you just like, I'm not trying to send my kids back to these U.S. schools because I don't really know what's going on, I want to tell you about that. So I'm gonna start by talking about how I started homeschooling. So, y'all, when my daughter was in ninth grade, that's when I decided that I was leaving America. So it wasn't COVID that made me decide that. I already knew I was leaving. COVID just gave me the little push that I needed to go. So any question that I had about leaving, COVID gave me that push and said, "Yeah, girl, you need to go." So, that was kind of the last piece of the puzzle. When COVID hit, that is when my daughter was in 11th grade. So basically, I had no choice but to homeschool the kids. Like my daughter was in 11th grade, so she kind of did her own schooling, but my son was only in like second grade. So I didn't have a choice but to homeschool him because the schools went to virtual, and y'all know that was a mess when they went to virtual. So basically, I had to start teaching him myself. So, but that was the last puzzle piece I needed to leaving America. Like for me, everything else I had together. I had my online job. I was good with everything else. I was going to sell the house, rent the other house, so all of that was good. But that whole, I'm a homeschool, like, I don't know. I'm not that person. Like, who's homeschooling? Like, I'm not what I was told was termed a crunchy mom. So I wasn't like, I'm not like cooking every meal in the kitchen and cleaning. I clean, of course, but I'm not like to clean every day and cook 3 meals a day and make you these, whip up some brownies and some special cookies. Like we about to get these frozen Toll House cookies that we're gonna sit on this tray and we're gonna go pick up this cheesecake at Kroger. That was the mom that I was. So talking about, oh, we're gonna homeschool, I'm like, I don't know. However, once we started doing virtual school, I saw the things that were missing, the gaps that were missing with the school system trying to educate my kid. And, watching virtual school, you could see all of the kids. So when they were teaching a lesson, I remember it very distinctively. They were teaching about maps and compass roles, and my kid was kind of looking off, not paying attention. But I looked on the screen at the other kids, doing virtual school, and they were looking off and not paying attention either. So I was like, wait a minute, so nobody here is paying attention to the lesson? Yeah, no, everybody was confused. Nobody was paying attention. So I was like, I can do better than this. So basically, that's what I did. I decided I'm gonna do better than what is going on right now. So that's when I said I'm gonna start homeschool. So, for everybody that just joined us, good morning, Arnell. Good morning, LaShawn. I'm glad y'all are looking at Worldschooling and homeschooling. So we're gonna break this down. So, what I want to say first of all is homeschooling is not as hard as people make it out to be, and I'm gonna jump into Worldschooling afterwards. But what first thing that I want to touch on is homeschooling. There are different types of homeschooling, and Worldschooling falls under that. There is a video, and I will post that video. After going to a homeschooling conference, I learned a lot more. So I want to share that information. So I'll post a link to that video. But there are different ways of homeschooling. There's traditional, where basically you take the classroom out of the public school and you basically put the classroom in your home. So in your home, that's what you do. You do class assignments, you do language arts, you do English, you do language arts, math, you do science. You know, it's very much what it was in the school system. This is very good if your goal is to put the kids back in the school system, but this is not the only way of learning. And for me, I was not aware that there were so many ways to learn. I only knew about two. One was traditional. The second one is classical. This particular kind of homeschool is so you understand the why behind everything that you're doing. So, you know, and they explain it a little bit better on the video, but it's not so traditional, but they want you to know why is this the case, you know, going deeper into the meaning and the background of things. So that's another type. The next one is unschooling. That's kind of where you allow your children to dig a little bit deeper and they lead the lessons. So unschooling, you know, it's kind of like my son, he's really into trucks. So basically we're going to learn everything there is about trucks. You know, if he wake up next week and he's really into dolphins, then we'll learn everything there is to know about dolphins. So it's really more child-led when you're doing unschooling. And there may not be textbooks. You're not really using textbooks. You're not really using a specific curriculum. You just allow your children to lead that. The next one, the one that I really liked, was unit studies. So unit study, instead of in the school system where let's take a plant, for example, in kindergarten and first grade, they're learning the difference between a plant and an animal. Then in second grade, they learn that there's a stem to the plant. The plant is green. You know, there's a couple of things to the plant. In the next grade, they learn about the soil and everything that goes along with the soil for the plant. So it's kind of a buildup. Well, in unit studies, basically you take the plant, you plan out what you want to do. So we're going to focus on the plant. So you take the plant and you learn everything there is to know about the plant. So instead of splitting those up amongst the years, you learn everything about that plant. You learn the difference between the plant and the animal. You learn about the soil. You learn about other plants. You learn about flowers. You learn about how the bees relate to the plant. You learn about how, you know, the sun, you can pull the sun in there and how that feeds the plant, and the rain and the energy. So all of that is how you teach them in this unit studies. Then there's Charlotte Mason. Charlotte Mason was a very new term for me. I just learned that one on Friday. So she's a pioneer. She's from, I believe, England, but back from, you know, centuries ago. But basically she was the person, and she taught the rich people's children. And basically what she did was, and this is a Cliff Notes version because I haven't done the research on Charlotte Mason like some people, but basically what she did was she taught them based off of books. So, you know, let's say this morning with my son, we did Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. Cloudy Yeah, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. So that's a book. I know y'all know that's a movie, but it's a book as well. And based off of that book, what you do is basically, let me tell you about the book. So the book says that, basically tells you that it's rain every day. It rains a different meal. Like it rains pancakes for breakfast, it rains spaghetti and meatballs for dinner, and this happens every day. So what you do to utilize the Charlotte Mason technique is you make that your theme. That is your topic. Is Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. So you take what's called a living book, a book that is intriguing, not a textbook. So you take a living book and you make lessons from this living book. So from Cloudy with a Chance of Meatball, we'll do a science lesson on weather. We'll create a barometer. We're gonna talk about clouds and how clouds work. We'll talk about we'll go into language arts. So we'll pull out a couple of sentences out of the book. For younger kids, you can do a fill in the blank of the sentence. Let's say today's weather forecast calls for pancakes. So I'll leave out the word forecast and I'll leave out the word pancakes. For older kids, you can have them write out the whole passage and they need to memorize the passage and they'll write it out. And they choose their favorite passages, so you pull in science, you go on nature walk, you pull in social studies because you're talking about weather, you pull in language arts because you're talking about, you're writing sentences, you can identify nouns, verbs, does this have an exclamation point or a period? Is this capitalized? So that is the Charlotte Mason. And what they call that is kind of a loose Charlotte Mason. She has a lot of rules to it. But that's kind of the quick and dirty version of it. And what I'll do is I will put in the link to the video that goes through these different types of schooling. And also what they do is they do a test to tell you which way works better for you. So I said traditional, classical, unschooling, unit studies in Charlotte Mason. So, I was like, oh, I'm definitely going to do unit studies. Well, after I did the test based off of what I thought my son would like best and what I would like best, because basically you can't school a child and you don't like what they're, you don't want to do what you're doing. What I found works best for us actually is unschooling in Charlotte Mason, because with my child maybe because my child has some special needs and I know that he likes hands-on and reading, that's probably why I geared towards that. Well, the one that they don't talk about as much is Worldschooling. So, combining your learning with the world. And, so basically what Worldschooling is defined as, and I have my notes here, it's where it usually involves travel. However, it doesn't have to involve travel. You can utilize things in your own world. It's no homework. It's hands-on learning. You don't really do grades or time, sensitive type of things. And, it was Green Child magazine. They said that you meet new people, you learn new languages, and the different languages that you're exposed to makes your brain grow, makes the children's brain grow. And I think it makes mine too. You extend past the classroom, like you're outside, you create new interests. I know like my son likes playing soccer now. And, it teaches them to perseverance and collaboration. And another thing is it strengthens the family bond. So that's the definition, the good things about Worldschooling. Homeschooling, you teach the lessons, whether you choose a curriculum like we talked about, or you do unschooling. Homeschooling is also guided by the state. So depending on the state that you live in, I would say typically Republican states are a little bit more relaxed on it. Democratic states may not be as lax. For example, I'm in Georgia. I'm gonna be honest, y'all, Georgia don't really care what we do. They say we should do a test every 3 years. And you fill out a form saying I'm 18 or older. I have at least a high school diploma or a GED, and I'm homeschooling my kid. That's pretty much the extent for Georgia. You also have to remember you're the teacher, you're the principal, you're the janitor, you're the cook, you're the superintendent of your school. You're all of that. And lastly, this is the way of life before the 20th century, before they decided people should go into the workforce and, all of these different things, they would homeschool their children. And so I have a video that I will post when I looked at some different curriculums from homeschooling when I was thinking about doing the traditional way of schooling, the sit down, teach, do these quizzes, do this homework. Some of those include like Me Academy, and these are younger kids. Me Academy goes up to 12th grade. Reading Eggs, Math Seeds is 5th grade and under. Starfall is like 3rd, 4th grade and under. Elephant Learning, I believe, goes up at least till middle school. And now I'm looking into some other things. So I want to pause before I go a little deeper and see if you all have any questions, comments, or concerns about that so far. Well, I know I threw out a lot of information. So let me know. Let's see. I know it comes in a little bit late. So, okay. So I'm gonna let you all let me know if you have any questions or comments about that. So Worldschooling. So when you're tying in Worldschooling, you're using the world as your school. So basically, when I utilize the Worldschooling model, and everybody does it differently. When I utilize the Worldschooling model, I'm looking at different things like the language. I'm looking at what's in that vicinity to learn. So when I go to Mexico, what we'll actually do is we'll do a book. We'll start doing books on Mexico. We'll start looking at the geography in Mexico, where it is on the map. We can talk about the climate in the area. We can discuss the like they're Native American, well, I guess they're Indian and they're Mexican because they have a mixture of their people. You can look at the mountainous regions, like what their regions are. Is it mountains? Is it plains? You take all of that into consideration and you utilize the world. You go and see those. You talk about the pyramids. You read about them, and then you go and see them. When you're looking at the people, you can look up different things. I posted an app on one of my videos where you can actually meet up with the locals and have meals with them. You can sit down with them and have conversations. You can hire a tutor to teach you the language. There's different ways to utilize Worldschooling. I went to one of the talks on Friday where the lady actually said, so she travels with her 3 children, and her husband actually works still in the States. So she goes and she stays in an apartment, and she may stay in huts, or she may stay in a hut in the area. She may switch out and live in one of the houses of one of the locals, or pay someone locally on the ground. She may not eat out. They only cook. They may eat out once in a blue moon. So they get very local. They go and they work with the locals there. They volunteer. They don't do a lot of the touristy things. So that's one way to do it. The way that I do it is, y'all, I gotta stay in my condo. I have to stay in my condo, and I do think I have my pool and my beach. However, I'm going to utilize the world that's around me. I'm really going to get in with the locals. I'm going to talk to them. I'm going to find camps. I'm going to find a nanny, and I'm very specific about the way that I do it. I prefer to find a local nanny. I want a nanny that can speak both languages, that can speak some English, but can also speak the local language. By doing so, not only is that nanny helpful to my son, but that nanny is also helpful to me, because we can go places together. They can help me navigate what's going on in the area. They can help me communicate with other people. They can tell me the places that they eat, that they drink, tell me the local spots. They could take us around to different places. So world schooling is very different. You can world school in any of these fashions. You can do it traditionally. We did it traditionally for the first year. I'm a working mom, so I would work 3 days a week. And Monday and Friday would be kind of our free days. That's when we would go to different places. We would go to Dolphin World. We would go, wherever we wanted to go. That's when we would do our field trips. Tuesday through Thursday, when we would do our work. I typically will work with him from 8:30 to 11 a.m. And then I would actually work from 11 a.m. to about 4 p.m. So that's the way that our schedule went. As a single mom, I didn't have all day to school him to teach him. However, when you're doing homeschool, you really don't need all day. When you think about it, when you send your children to school and they're inside of the school, they're going to different classes. There's 20, 30 children in that class to one teacher. But when you're one-on-one, you can really focus in on the lesson. You can really focus on what it is that we're talking about today. You don't need 8 hours of teaching time. And that's the thing. Like you do 2 to 3 hours. 2 to 3 hours, you can do your lesson. You can maybe do a recipe. You could do some projects. You could go out, do some nature hunting. You can go walk around the neighborhood. You can see all kinds of things. When you go to lunch, we would go to lunch in at a local spot. He would read the menu. We would order in their language. We would eat their local food. So all of that is learning. And basically what you find is these kids do exceptionally well afterwards when they're doing world schooling, homeschooling, unschooling. My concern was what happens to these children later? Like, they're not doing a traditional education. Well, what's been found is that in countries whose children score very high in education, they actually school with the unit study type schooling. They're doing it where they're teaching everything there is to know about a topic before they move on to the next topic. And what they found was that the children are retaining more information. So years from now, those children are able to tell you so many more things about plants and flowers. They're able to tell you so many more things about the Shakespeare era because they learned it in bulk. That you gave them all of that knowledge at one time instead of splitting it up over different time periods, which really makes sense. If you're going to teach me about computers, it only makes sense about computer applications. It only makes sense to teach me about Outlook, teach me about Word, teach me about PowerPoint, instead of teaching me about Outlook, leaving and then saying, okay, well, now we're going to talk about the filing system over here, and then come back later. Okay, now let's talk about Microsoft Word, but then we're going to go and we're going to talk about this over here, how you check in these patients. So that really doesn't make sense to break different things up. So when you group them together, it's like, oh, okay, that does make a lot of sense. And for me, this year, that's what I'll be doing. So my plan is we focus on Mexico. Initially, we talk about everything there is to know about Mexico. We utilize videos. We may use YouTube. We go to the library, read books on it. We do all of these different things. We may draw the map and go over the mapping. If you have older kids, go into the climates and all of those different things. And you take that, and then once you're in that area, you really utilize that because now you're in the country. And as you know, once you can see, feel, and do it, it just works so much better. You just soak it in so much more than just when you read it in the textbook. I can read about Egypt in the textbook all day long. However, when you take me and put me in Luxor, Egypt, and you allow me to see the tombs of the kings and queens, that's completely different. Egypt is a totally different place when I'm actually there and I'm seeing and I'm doing it. So that's basically how the world schooling works. That's how homeschooling works. That's how all of this comes together. Let me see what else I wanted to talk about. I talked about the nanny. And also with the nanny, if you're not comfortable with the nanny or your house helper, as it's called in some other places, if you're not comfortable with them staying with your child by themselves, they don't have to. A lot of times my nanny would come and I was just in the next room working. So I would let her know what to do. I did not necessarily have my nanny do the teaching skills. So if it's a different language, you probably don't want them to do those teaching skills. So what I did was I would work with him and I would do the teaching skill part of it. And then I would have my nanny do things like she would do the cooking, she would do the cleaning. She would take him to the beach. She would take him to meet up with the other kids and interact with the other kids, facilitate that. So the thing is, especially if you're a single parent, doing it all is a lot. I'm not going to lie. If you're homeschooling, and you're working, you got to do the cooking and you got to do the cleaning. Y'all, you don't have to live like that once you leave America. Like, remember that. You don't have to do that. Once you leave, you hire help and you need to prioritize what's important. For me, it's important that I do the teaching. It's important that I do my work. What's not important for me in particular to do is to sweep, to mop, to cook. I can hire that out. I don't mind paying $200 to $500 a month for somebody to come full time to take care of those items for me. That I don't mind that at all. So you really need to prioritize what you need and what versus what you want. LaShawn said, my daughter has difficulty reading. Do you have any suggestions? So what I found is that, so I did a couple of things. I liked reading eggs and math seeds. That's for younger kids. I don't know how old your daughter is. I did like that to help with the reading. However, my son really likes to read. One of the new programs that I'm using, let me get the name of it. What I'll be using this year is called, this one is a literary house. I'll have to post the link. I'll post the link for you. It's something about chocolate. So when you see that link, make sure you look into that. But that's focused in on reading. And basically, you're making reading fun. That's what the Charlotte Mason does. It allows you to make reading fun for your children instead of, that textbook type reading. So it puts the fun back into it. The other thing is my son will listen to things on his Alexa. So I have my subscriptions to like Kindle and I have my subscriptions to Audible. So he can just listen to it on the Alexa, or you can just do the books that are on YouTube. So we'll do some of that. So maybe you listen to it on YouTube, but you also get the actual book. Or since I travel a lot, I don't carry a lot of books. So we definitely do our Audible and our Kindle subscription. So maybe you just do the Kindle and she can follow along in the Kindle with the book, even though she may be listening to it on YouTube or something like that. So that's another option too. Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad I found something to fit his needs. But, and I thought it was one of those things where, with special needs, you need certain types of, this is why you do the hands-on or the listening. However, most children are kinetic learners. So most children, and actually most adults, don't do well just sitting in a classroom setting and listening. I mean, honestly, they're only really listening for the first 10 minutes. And that's across the board, children and adults. They're only typically listening to you for the first 10 minutes. So anything you say after 10 minutes goes in one ear and out the other. So why anyone would think that if you put a child in a classroom for 45 minutes or an hour and 20 minutes, if they do block schedule and they're going to learn things, is kind of, I don't know. Now, one of the things you have that isn't as addressed in Worldschooling, Unschooling, and some of these methods is math. So that's one of those things that you probably will have to sit down and do the math with them. Or you can try to do some math that's more realistic, like focusing on money and counting money and then converting that over to whatever that local currency is, if it's pesos or whatever that may be. So that's another option that you can utilize when you're doing the Worldschooling or the homeschooling. Or again, you can do the paper and pen. So there's different ways to tailor it. I would encourage you to figure out the best learning style for your children, as well as the best teaching style for yourself, because both of them kind of have to fit together for it to really work perfectly. However, you can find that. So I will definitely post that video, so you can do that little quiz to see which one works best for you. So, questions, comments. I know this one's kind of a short video. If you like it, make sure you press like and you subscribe to the video, to the channel, and click the bell whenever we go live. This is more of an informative video. We have our chats, but this one I really wanted to get this information out here because there's so many different ways to do this, and a lot of times we don't realize that. We don't realize that we have all of these choices to how we teach our children. And, we have all of these concerns on what will happen in a few years when we're teaching them this way. My accommodation. So I do Airbnbs. Actually, I've done all Airbnbs and hotels. I am not the person that is like, I could do like the huts and the local things. So I am working on doing the house sitting. I can post a link for that if that's something you're interested in, because you could do the house sitting where you watch animals, you watch you watch animals, you watch their pets, you maybe watch their plants. Or flowers. You may just be watching the house. So I am actively looking for house sits. Another thing someone mentioned to me that I thought was a cool idea was one lady actually said that she has the one that has 3 kids. She does hostels, but she actually rents out the entire hostel room, so she's not sharing with anyone else. So I thought that was quite interesting, to rent out the whole hostel room. And she said for her, a lot of times that comes out to be less expensive than actually doing a hotel. So that's something I think I may look at in the future. The financial aspect to fund Worldschooling. Worldschooling, you mean traveling or Worldschooling? So Worldschooling itself is actually pretty inexpensive, to be quite honest with you. My mini academy, I pay one price for the year. With the literary adventures that I'm looking at doing, the one that I told you has chocolate in the name. You pay one price for the year. I think that's like $100 and something for the year. And you get access to everything. So I do things that are online. So I'm gonna be honest. The Reading Eggs curriculum is like $10 a month. So Elephant Math, I think, was around $10 a month. So I'm not doing any curriculums that are very expensive. And when I find that they don't work for us, I end my subscription because I'm not paying you every month if it's not helpful to me. Do I have difficulty getting curriculum in other countries? No, all of my curriculums come from the States. So I'm not buying any curriculums in other countries because, like I said, when you're world schooling and you're traveling, I can't be traveling around with a whole craft suitcase. Like, I mean, because I try to stick to 2 suitcases and 2 carry-ons. So when I get to my location, everywhere has a store. They may not have a Walmart per se, but they have a similar store. So when I get to my location, because I try to stay at least a month or two, 2 months seems to be um the sweet spot for us. So when I get to my location, I go to the store and I buy different things. So the things that I bring pencil, pen, markers, crayons. I bring a certain line paper that I like, and I'll bring like a little bit of starting paper, and I bring my son's computer. Outside of that, everything else I buy. So if I need paint, if I need something for experiments or activities, if I need baking soda and vinegar, um I bring that. So I bring no, not I don't bring that. I buy that at the store because I don't need to carry all of that with me, because those are things that they're going to have anywhere that I go. They're going to have these, they'll have more paper, and they'll have special kind of markers and all of that kind of stuff. So I just buy it. I do the same thing. Like when I get there, I buy him a bucket and shovels and all of that for the beach. And I just leave it with the kids when I leave. So like, it's stuff that I just left with the local kids when I was leaving, because I no longer, like, I could buy all of that somewhere else and it'll cost me less than what it'll cost me to add another bag on. So yeah, I buy that stuff locally. I just bring what I know I need, and I'm not sure if I could get. You said 2 carry-ons in a suitcase. I actually do have a video about that. You got to search for it. I do have a video about how I travel. It's very short. I travel with 2 suitcases, 2 carry-ons, and actually his wheelchair. Yep. You said, how long do I stay at my destination? So initially I was like, oh, we're going to move every month. However, I found I don't feel like packing every month. And with my son's temperament, it takes about 2 to 3 weeks for us to really get our feet in place in a new destination. And then after that, the next month, we're really exploring. So what I found for me is that 2 months is good for us as a starting point. 2 months allows us to see the area. It allows us to do field trips. So we don't go somewhere. We're not going somewhere every day, because this is not vacation. This is living. And I have to tell people there's a difference between vacation and living somewhere. I took my daughter with me to Colombia and the DR, and she was ready to go after 2 months because it was not vacation. I said, baby, this is not vacation. Vacation, you go, you got a list of everything you want to do. On Monday, we going snorkeling. On Tuesday, we're going hiking. On Wednesday, we going swimming with the dolphins. On Thursday, we going, we're doing something every day. But when you live there, first of all, that is expensive. I don't know how you're going to spend $1,000 a week on activities. If you can, tell me what you're doing, because I need to be doing what you're doing. But it's expensive and it's exhausting. When you live somewhere, I live in Atlanta. I'm not going to World of Coca-Cola Monday, Tuesday to Aquarium, MLK Wednesday. No. So what I do is, when I go to different areas, I decide what we want to do, and we do something maybe once a week or once every other week. And what I do is I try to tie that in with the lesson. It doesn't always tie in with the lesson, but everything is a learning lesson, right? So one week we may go to the museum, like in Dominican Republic and Santo Domingo. All of the museums are like walking distance. Some of them are across from the other, not even across the street, just across the park yard. So we will go to those museums for the day. Another week we do swimming with the dolphins. Another week we go maybe on a hike safari trail or something like that. So by having at least 2 months, it allows you to have like every week, every other week, you do a big activity. However, you can also add in some of those little activities because everywhere you go has little gems that you can do. So it doesn't have to be something major. It could be something free that you're doing. We would sometimes just go to the movies. The movies is an experience in itself, because you got to go ahead, you got to get the tickets in their language, you got to order your whatever you're going to order in that language. You go to the movies, the movie may be in English, but the subtitles are in a different language. So even that is a learning opportunity, and that's what's different about world schooling. The regular things that we do in our everyday places and in our everyday life, when we take that out of our norm and we put that in a different country, a different community, a different state, then we see different ways that things are done. One thing that me and my son always complained about was in the DR, they didn't put liquid butter on the popcorn. That was huge for us. We did not know that. So all you got was sal, which is salt for your popcorn. They didn't put that on the popcorn. That was different for us. But these are just different things that you learn. We may do movie and then we'll do dinner afterwards, and we go and we get the plata del dia, which is the plate of the day. And, he has to decide, what do you want today? Carne asada, pollo guisado. It's all these different things, but all of this is learning. So for us, it's not just we sit here, we teach them, and this is what we need to learn. We're learning globally, and we're learning about the world while we're still learning lessons, because I know that one day my son may go back to school. The way things are going in the States, I'm not sure. However, he may go back to school. Now, also remember, when you're traveling, there's also world schooling hubs. Then a lot of times it's Americans that have traveled to another country, and they create a hub of individuals. They typically have a child that they're world schooling, and they invite other children to come in. You pay a small fee, and they world school together. And they basically use the same things. They're learning by doing. They're doing nature. They're doing projects. They're doing reading. Some of them do unschooling, where you choose what it is that you want to learn, the project you want to choose. They do cooking. They do a lot of skills for regular everyday learning. But by doing that, you bring in other things. If you're doing cooking, you can bring in math, because you're doing measurements, you're doing fractions. It's just a different way of learning than what our school system in the States tells us should be. Now, one thing I want to touch on is that when I went to this conference, that most of these people, they were like, oh, my kids are older now. They're in this college. They're doing this, this one's a doctor, this one's a lawyer, this one's a computer programming. So these children that have been homeschooled or world schooled, they're doing amazing things. So it's one of those things, no matter how you put it into them, as long as you put it into them, it will foul back out, and it will come back out in the way that it should, because it's a full circle. So that was my concern. Oh, if I do this, is he going to be okay? Because I'm not a teacher. Well, I really am. I'm my child's best teacher. I know everything about him. I know his likes, his dislikes. We're working one-on-one. He's getting way more time in 2 hours than he would get in an 8-hour day. So that was a long way, I think, to answer your question. So any other questions for me? If you haven't done so, make sure you like, subscribe, and share the video. And I will post the links to some of those other videos that we talked about, so that you'll have those and you can look on there as well. So, all righty. Well, I am signing off. This was a short one for us today. Normally we are on here for like an hour and a half, 2 hours, but I just wanted to get that information out to you about homeschooling and world schooling. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm going to post those links for you to take a look at, and I'll also post the links for those videos that can also help you on your path to schooling the kids. You're welcome. I will see you all next time. Have a happy Sunday. Ciao.